Hey, everybody. Welcome to Downballot Roundup, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and those of you who've been around for a while will notice my background has changed a little bit. I lost a bet, and I had to change out my furniture. So this may happen a couple more times. We're just going to have to deal with it. But that does not change the fact that I am very excited to have Benjamin McCall, who is running for the Ohio State House of Representatives to represent District 46. Benjamin, this is very nice to have you. Very nice to meet you today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you?
So, I've lived in the southwestern Ohio area for roughly half my life. For those that don't know, House District 46 in Ohio is Middletown, Monroe, Liberty Township, and a number of townships in between. I live in Liberty Township, and my career, I've been in human resources my entire career outside of the first 2 years where I was in sales. And, I kind of go into my career, into my work, and even my style of interacting with people of on the sales side of, we all have something to sell. It's just a question of do we know what and how do we do it and how does it translate? So leaving the sales feeling out of it, it's more along the lines of always communication of understand where people are coming from, having empathy, seeing another side versus only seeing yours and kind of landing that on other people. So that's a little bit about me in my area. I got into politics specifically probably around 3 years ago, not to run, but more along the lines in 2021, we had an election for school board, and it was a number of issues across school boards that we've seen that started during the pandemic. And we had two very conservative, very far right elected officials that were brought in that basically put our school district to a standstill. Leading into that, they were talking about a lot of things, and when that election did not go the way I liked, seeing that we had those school board members uh, added to the school district in the Lakota local school district, I started calling a number of people because I felt guilty I wasn't involved. And I was like, I don't think there's much I could have done to change any outcome, but it's one of those things where I wasn't involved enough to try. So I started to call people, interact, and I started getting involved in schools. If I wasn't at a school board meeting, I was watching one. If I wasn't watching, I was at a committee meeting. I got to know the SROs, school board members, teachers, parents all across just because I was visible and involved. And then a number of people started to ask me to run for various things over the last 2 years. And then the representative state house race came up, and I was like, when I was asked, I was like, I don't care about a campaign. What's the job? And everything that we complain about or go to a township meeting or go to a school board meeting, you will hear, well, we're waiting on House Bill this, we're waiting on Senate Bill this, we're waiting for what they're going to do with this to help them decide in a practical way within our precinct or our districts what to do. So that's kind of what helped me kind of pull into the seat. And that's the number one reason why I'm in the race is as a result of education. There are a number of different issues that I think are important, but I think if 85 to 90% of your K through 12 kids are going to public schools, then the way you fix public schools is to fix public schools. And you have adequate funding, which in the state of Ohio is desperately needed in a supermajority in the House and the Senate here in Ohio.
So, when you're going out, I'm assuming you've been, getting out, talking to people, and then you've mentioned a couple of issues there. What are the issues that you're hearing the most from your constituents as you walk around, or uh, what are you hearing from people on the street?
Well, in Ohio, education, the voucher system, and how that
Hmm.
changed over about a year and a half ago. The other is reproductive rights and AB. So when you think about how that affects women and women's decisions and families' healthcare decisions, that is a big issue locally. Third is basically funding and property taxes. We've been hit with a large increase across the state, and those who haven't felt it in Ohio are soon to feel it. And we need to figure out how we're going to address state funding model because over the last 10, 15 years, the state level has taken more and more away from local townships, from local city governments. So they have less funding. They have to rely more on the weight of property taxes and sales tax on a local basis on that back. So those are three things that are that are brought up regularly, as well as just, the traditional mindset of, uh, mind your business. Like allow me to do my thing.
Yeah,
And for me, foundationally, I, it's one of those things you can, but you can argue a lot of things. And for me, it's as long as people aren't hurting people, denying people their rights, using their power, legislation, or dollars to hurt people, you can do what you want as long as
very
you're
Midwestern.
not doing those things. Yeah.
Very Midwestern.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard a lot about the vouchers, and particularly in Ohio, people have been bringing this up a lot. And now, are those paid for through are those paid for with property taxes?
So there's a portion where state funding, funding for education is funded in three ways: federal, through local property taxes, as well as bond issues, and then also funding through the state. So it's a mix of that. But with the vouchers, a large piece of it has started to be funneled to private institutions, namely private schools. So that funding, because even if you were to look at your property tax bill, or if you were to pay your full, not property tax bill, but your state tax bill, if you were to pay your full bill, it would not cover the amount that if you had two kids of what you're getting for that. So
Yeah.
oftentimes we ask where the money is coming from, but it's coming from those two sources or three sources.
Okay. Now, of these issues, is there one in particular where you and your opponent differ dramatically that you like to
It's hard to say
identify?
because pretty much everything we
Okay.
differ. To give you an idea, the incumbent has this is his after the districts changed, so this is his third time running for this seat, second time officially in our gerrymandered district and change across the state. But there's a number of different things. So when it comes to reproductive rights, we stand on complete opposite sides, and him in a different way. When it comes to public education, he doesn't really have a stance or really touch, but he's more, from my understanding, more private schools. Although he doesn't say much about it, but he doesn't help stop it. He also in Ohio there was a bill passed to allow firearms uh, to be carried in school from administrators, and also to minimize the hours of training down to 24 hours, which 2 to 4 are specifically firearm related versus the rest are others. He introduced that bill. And we also stand differently on, voting, because when it comes to, we had a special election that led into reproductive health care, which gave us, and was overwhelmingly voted by the voters to give us uh, our constitutional amendment, leading into adding it to our constitution. And after that, he signed a letter saying that we can do other things. Like there's a number of state legislators that are basically trying to ignore issue one, which with fair districts, they're also attempting to do in a number of local Ohio Supreme Court decisions. So we stand on different sides on a number of different areas.
All right. Well, so okay, so now I'm here to my final question, which is my softball question. It's my
Gotcha.
favorite. I would like to know what is something about your district that makes it very special to you?
I think it's the passion of everyone in it. So regardless of what side you stand on, where you sit, how extreme or middling you may be, people have passion around their ideas and their beliefs, and they have reasons. They have valid reasons, that they're valid reasons for why they believe it. And that's one of the most interesting things, the coolest things, especially as I've gone and talked to people who are on various sides or people who are on the opposite side of me. I've had probably 4 or 5 people try to shut their door on me, but I didn't let them and talk to them. And I think that passion, it comes out very strongly, and sometimes in the wrong way, but other times in the right way. And for me, when I'm at that door and that person's trying to shut the door, I'm like, I hand them the card. Hey, take a look. Um, if you have questions, feel free. You may not want to vote for me from the way you're kind of reacting, but if I'm your state rep, if I win, I'm still your state rep, and I want to hear what you have to say. So that passion is very big within our area and for our district.
I really appreciate that take. I like that that representing all people is something that
Mhm.
I think I think particularly has been lacking on one side of this particular time period.
Yeah,
And
and we in regard, it's interesting because I talk to people and I tell them all the time is like, no matter how you feel about various issues, we need more and more people that are willing to go up, set some ideologies aside and be like, you know what, I may not agree with you, I may not support you, but how do we get this thing done for regular everyday people? How can we put this stuff aside to get this thing done? And we need more people like that. And that's what I'm trying to do.
absolutely. All right. Well, Benjamin McCall is running for the Ohio State House in District 46. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.